Today's class is sponsored by the Miaskovsky family for Ilay Nishmas and Anatoly Rabbe Tzudek Ben Leib. Should have an Ilay. Good morning. We're on page 104 in the English edition, which is the middle of Siman Mem Ches. And last week we were talking about the two general stages of human history. Wait 1 second. So last we were talking about the two general stages of human history. The first stage is what we're in now, which is the stage of Helam Yehudo, where Hashem is hiding himself, so we don't see Hashem's full revelation. And then there's going to be a time in human history after Mashiach comes, after Tchian, when there's Tchias HaMesim, and then what we call Olam Haba, where there's a revelation of Hashem's Yichud, of what's called Gila Yehudo. And we talked about how all of human history that we're in now is leading to the revelation of Hashem's oneness. That is the purpose of everything. So now the Ramchal is going to talk more about that. This is on page 104. D.E.O. No furthermore. Kivade gamata apal pi shehelam tuvo umana chok shleimusa minan Ibrahim. Even though now God has withheld His completeness from creations, apal pikein vadehu shehu mashpia lahem. Hashem for sure is the one who is being mashpia. He is the one who is causing everything to exist and being and is the source of everything. Even though now Hashem is not at His displaying His full grandeur. Right, where we wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Hashem's hashpah. Right, it says that the comparison is that a human being, you make a table. So you just build the table one time, and the table exists. That's it. You don't have to constantly be making the table. But for us to exist, that means Hashem is constantly putting His energy, whatever that, His hashpah, however we understand that, into the world. So if Hashem would withhold His hashpah for one moment, the whole world would blink out of existence. And this is true even now during this time period where Hashem is withholding His shleimus. We don't see a total revelation of Hashem. There is evil in the world. There are forces that appear to be contradictory towards the will of God in this world. Now however, the way that Hashem is mashpia in the world now, compared to the way that He will be, and the way that He could be, is like a shadow to a person. So the way Hashem will be mashpia when He reveals His oneness, that's going to be like a person. Compared to now, it will be like a person's shadow. So we have a very, very small revelation of Hashem's oneness compared to what is possible to be. Or another comparison is like you write on a piece of paper and you erase all of the ink. So you just have the indentation of the letters, but you don't have the ink there. That is like Hashem's hashpah now compared to what it will be. And this hashpah of Hashem, these emanations of Hashem, what's the spiritual energy that keeps us alive, that's called darkness and not light. We're in a period of darkness now, not a period of light. It's very interesting, we mentioned this before, is that since we only exist because of Hashem's hashpah into the world, because He's constantly putting energy, spiritual energy into the world every moment for us to exist. So that means even the time that we sin, right, even if we sin and we're rebelling against Him on purpose, God forbid someone sins because he hates Hashem, chas v'shalom. So even at that moment, the only reason he is able to sin is because God's giving him energy to do it at that point. That's like the chesed of Hashem, that He is causing a person to be alive that's even rebelling against Him. But for us, this is our whole life, this tempered hashpah of Hashem. This hashpah, which, even though it's totally incomplete compared to what it could be, this is the whole reason for our existence. With this shadow hashpah, we can call it, that's how we exist. And there's no other reason that we're here. שכשנזכיר מן ההשפעה הזאת, המחודשת בהסתר פני טובו יזברך, Nikra'eu b'chol echad k'mo tzel hakayach ha'elyon levad lo yoser. This is just a shadow of the strength of Hashem, and nothing more. U'vis prata leprata and all of its details. Nimtza bo kol hachukim v'mishpatim asher mavchinim. Anachnu b'hanhaga halyayna ki kulam yachad davar muad ad ma'od nechshavim heim legabe koich ha'elyon im haya poil b'shlimuso k'mo shezacharti. So he says, like he said, that everything that we see in Hashem's power is just a tiny, tiny little bit of what it could be. V'amnum. Since the whole purpose of everything, the end goal, is to the revelation of Hashem's oneness, Gilui HaYichud, and that it shouldn't be revealed, because right now Hashem's oneness is revealed. Because if Hashem's oneness is not revealed, if Hashem's oneness was revealed, there wouldn't be evil in the world. Everyone would know that there's one God. There wouldn't be people fighting with each other. There wouldn't be wars. There wouldn't be heretics, and there wouldn't be people with deviant ideologies going around hurting people. If Hashem's revelation was one, all that would be gone. Because the whole purpose of human history is to get to that revelation of Hashem. The hiddenness of Hashem, the Shasa Helam that we're in now, is only a means to get to that end goal of Gilui HaYichud. That's the whole purpose of everything. That's why we find ourselves in this situation now. Al Kain, Afal Pisha Histir, Panav Lechadesh, Bodavar Hanhagas Atovira Hazois. Even though Hashem made the state that we're in now, and he hid himself so that we could have good and evil, Shava Kol Panim V'Hishkif B'Midas Tuvo, L'Fichok Mem Shalto, Lahashlim Sibub Kol Hanhaga Hazos B'Tikon HaKlali. He still has, Hashem still put in creation that even though now there is good and evil, he still has in the creation now that it is leading to the point of Gilui HaYichud. So we're going to talk more about this. That in addition to now, there's going to be two ways that Hashem deals with the world. One is reward and punishment, so which makes sense now because there's good and evil. And there's also called Hanhagas HaYichud, where Hashem is pushing the world along its path to get to the final point where everyone will recognize Hashem. So the Ramchal is saying that even though we find ourselves now in this hidden world, this world that's hidden from Hashem, it's still being pushed along to come to the ultimate recognition of one God. Did you have a question?
Yes. Yeah. So there's so much evil in the world, more evil than good, and the evil eventually can eliminate the whole world because there's just people can go against each other. The wars and everything can eliminate. How can Hashem get that to that point, and there is nobody to save at that point, no Messiah, because people are going to destroy themselves.
Right, so that's something the Ramchal mentioned earlier, that Hashem is never going to let the world get to that point. Part of Hashem directing the world to its final tachlis is that He's never going to let it get to the point where evil will totally, overcome good, and He would have to destroy the world again. That's never going to happen. He's going to be playing behind the scenes. Hashem is always manipulating events behind the scenes. Where we're going to talk about examples, like the Jewish people had to go down to Egypt. Right? It was a very small thing that they had to go down to Egypt because Avram Avinu asked, "How do I know that my children will inherit the land?" That's like a very small. The Ramban says it was a shogeg. It was unintentional sin, and usually you wouldn't get punished so much for that. But his children had to go to Egypt. Why? Because that was part of the plan of getting the world to recognize the oneness of Hashem, because for the world to recognize that, there had to be a Jewish people that'll be the chosen people that will live according to the Torah and recognize Hashem. So they had to go down to Egypt, become slaves, and be redeemed. So Hashem is always pulling strings behind the scenes to make sure that evil will not become so powerful that it will just totally overtake good.
So that's the answer why Cold War never actually happened, because it was
it could be
up to the point that
and we're going to see that after he's going to write here that after there is a revelation of Hashem's oneness, we're going to see how all of human history was really leading up to that. We're going to understand how the Holocaust played a role in that, right? Every tragedy that happened in Jewish history, why certain things had to happen the way they did, but all of that, the Cold War, it showed that communism, people put their faith, instead of putting their faith in Hashem, for example, they put their faith in communism. So you see that the Soviet Union in the end just crumbled like a piece of paper. You saw there was nothing there. So the whole world saw that communism doesn't work. Right? That's not going to solve mankind's problems. So it's just another thing that humanity saw that is not going to solve all of mankind's problems.
Yeah.
So we go through every single thing. There are other isms. People used to put their faith in different things. People thought if we have a secular Zionist state, in Israel without allegiance to Torah, right? The early Zionists, many of them were most of the movement was very anti-religious. Communists also. So they thought if we're going to have a secular state not based on Torah, that'll stop anti-Semitism. And if you look now, the state of Israel is constantly under bombardment by anti-Semites and trying to destroy them. And now you see in America how bad it's gotten. But the whole point is that we see that there is no people can't put their faith in anything but Hashem. That's going to be the only salvation. But Hashem, to answer your question, Hashem is not going to make it that evil will totally overtake everything.
Yeah, and we can see that because destruction would come in Cold War when Khrushchev would press a button, and that would be the end of this civilization.
Right.
So
right.
it actually didn't get to the point. It was very close.
Right.
We got to that point.
Right. Let's do a little more. This is obvious. We already learned how there's going to be an end to the rule of darkness of good and evil within in the 6,000 years. We said that this world as it exists now is going to only exist for 6,000 years, and we're in 5782. And from the beginning already it was decreed the end. That Hashem should reveal himself. And then good in the world will be forever. Once Hashem reveals His oneness, there's going to be good forever. It's Olam Haba. So that means every day that passes is a day which is getting closer to the revelation of Hashem's oneness, to this shleimus, this completeness. Furthermore, what we just said, Hashem is always pulling the strings behind the scenes to push the world into that direction. To bring the world to this perfection. And that's what the verse says. That you, the eternal God, have brought about so many things. Your wondrous acts and your thoughts are for our sake. It says a deep plan with certain faith. Hashem has a plan. God has planned the world so that nothing should be pushed away from Him. So this is a very important thing that really answers many, many questions about human history. Right? How could God allow all these horrible things to happen? Or how could God do this or do that? So the answer is that there's two ways that God directs the world. One is reward and punishment. That means a person does a sin, he gets punished. Does a mitzvah, he gets a reward. But there's also another way that Hashem directs the world. Is Gila Yichud, that He's pushing human history. He's pulling strings behind the scenes that humanity should recognize that He is one. So part of that is realizing that anything else that humans put their faith in is really nothing. It's all fake. People really thought communism would solve the world's problems. We'll have equality. People won't be jealous of each other. And we saw, unfortunately, how many people had suffered before this happened. But we saw that that's nothing. It doesn't work. So part of human history, however Hashem does it, we don't know, obviously at the time, we don't know exactly why certain things are necessarily happening. But the general answer is that Hashem is guiding things behind the scenes so that we come to a recognition of His oneness.
God allowed to happen or made it happen? It's made it happen, right? It's not really allowed to happen.
So
right?
I would say I think you have both. Right? We did say that Hashem allows evil people to do evil. That is one thing. And there's also, He's also pulling the strings, I think, actively. But like how exactly and what, I don't know.
We don't have a good answer to that question. I don't think we have a good answer to that. I mean,
of specific things.
The Ramchal goes to that specifically. That even though there are two parallel ways Hashem is running the world, they don't conflict with each other. In other words, our choices are completely free, even though Hashem is using those choices